All right, so like I mentioned in another video, I've been commissioned to make this knife again, just using better materials. So this is an Old Hickory skinning knife, and apparently out of all the knives that my client has used, I'm saying client, but this is the first person I'm making a knife for. So out of all the knives he's used, this is the best. So he basically wants a clone of this with only one difference, and I'll show you here on the drawing. So this is basically a tracing of the original, and the only difference he wanted was a bit more of belly. So this area is the one that's going to be used the most, and basically the one that's used at all, just this section of the knife. And so he just wants a wider belly there, so he just has more life. The knife has, if he keeps on resharpening it, the knife will last longer. Other than that, the other differences are just better materials. This is, I'm guessing it's probably like a 1095 or 1084 or whatever. Old carbon steel. This is an old knife. So my suggestions, I suggested, and he decided to go with Magnacut for the steel. I suggested slightly thicker than this, just slightly. This is 1/8 of an inch. And the reason for that is when I do grind it, I want to grind it a little bit higher. This is just ground about basically here, and then it's kind of convexed. So I am gonna convex it too, but I'm gonna grind it as high as I can, probably almost to the spine, and then just convex it at the end. This is from here to here, it's like flat, and it just seems like they rounded it out right here. So I'm gonna take all the cues I can from this and just apply it to the new one. Since I have never skinned an animal, I don't want to either, but I'm going just completely by what he said, what he likes, and he just said just clone this thing basically. So Magnacut, I had to get 2 inches wide to actually be able to do this curvature. And for the handle, I'll show you that towards the end. It's going to be Cocobolo. So once I put the handles on there, I'm going to watch him. I'm going to see how he holds the knife. I'm not going to watch him skin an animal, but I'm gonna ask him how he uses the knife, and then I'm gonna basically do the handle, the contours and stuff like that, to whatever way he holds the knife. I'm guessing something like this. That's what I would think, being the finger, using the finger as the knife as an extension of my index finger. That's what I would guess, but we'll know when we get there. Okay, so starting off, I am going to cut this out. Use that as a template on this, and then cut it out on the steel itself. Do little minor adjustments, make sure everything feels fine in hand, and then that will be the first step. All right, so here is the outline done. Let me just compare it so you can see it. All right. Try not to move it. All right, there it is. And I had to use an angle grinder because I was using my bandsaw, and it took too long on this curvature for the bandsaw. It ended up hardening the steel and messing up the teeth on the bandsaw. So I had to use an angle grinder, and it skipped out while I was cutting and basically ground this. That's going to cost me some time, but whatever. I am going to round out the corners, but that should get rid of this. But this, we'll see how deep that is. All right, next up is I'm going to do the bevels on this thing. All right, so I'm done grinding the primary bevel. So like I said, this one has just like, it's a little bit less than 1/2 inch all the way up the blade, and it's kind of convexed after that. So they probably just ground it, and then I just went over it like a buffer wheel and stuff like that to kind of like blend them both in. What I did was I ended up just going just a flat grind completely, which was kind of hard for me to do since I had to go from a flat grind here to where it's like the width isn't as wide as up here to like a flat grind up here. It's much wider. So kind of a pivot. I did mess up here. See that little spot? That was just like a split second. It just me messing up. And that resulted in this. My hands are kind of like jacked up from, because I had to dip this thing in water a bunch of times. So that little spot there. I'll blend that in just with just sandpaper and stuff. So it's not really a big deal. All right, so this is at 120 grit so far, so I'm just gonna grind it from here on up. Um, I did get rid of that little mess up I did, so that's gone. Now what I'm gonna do is I am gonna round out these corners just a little bit, because so either this is the hand position or this is the hand position, and either way, the finger's going to be constantly, a finger is going to be constantly against the spine. So I'm going to round this out just a bit, and I decided to do it from here on up. The handle's going to go down here, probably about this height, but I'm going to round it from here where the plunge line is, just straight across. You can see the line I drew is a little bit high, so just I put the my starting point for the filing for the rounded spine is a little bit lower. So yeah, so I'm gonna do that next, and then I'm just gonna go through the grits. So next up is 240, and then I'll do 400, and I'm gonna have to take this up all the way to 800. So I'll show you once I get it to 800. So yeah. All right. Okay, so I just got this back from Peter's Heat Treatment, and like I said, this is Magnacut, but I asked for 63 to 64 Rockwell hardness, and so they did a few tests on it to get it there. Now what I got to do is I have to grind the edge, but I'm going to do that by hand. I'm going to use diamond stones, and I have the option. So as of now, I have the option to either do just completely a flat grind on this thing, and it's already pretty close to zero. And it feels nice. So what I want to do is, I still want to do that convex I talked about, but the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to first just grind this edge just by hand using diamond stones, and then I'm going to use sandpaper on the edge. So if you imagine just the triangle, so it looks like a little house, the edge would be like a little house with a roof. And I want to take off the corners of that little roof. So I'm going to do that with sandpaper and make it more into a convex edge. So yeah, so that's next up. Okay, so I forgot to show you the convex edge on this thing. I'll show it to you in the end. But next up is I have to put these handles on here. And this is Cocobolo Rosewood. Pretty nice. And I'm gonna have to use most of this since this is like pretty thin and not that wide. So I decided to go like this. These are book matched, so this will be in the back like that. But I want to get as much as this as I can, this line right here. And I want it to go squiggly like this. So maybe a little canter like this. So we'll see. All right, so I sanded the part that goes towards the knife. I'm not going to be able to get to this part after I glue the scales to the knife, so I have to do it now. I usually, when it comes to wood, I do 400 grit. This is 800. It looks super nice, and if I can do enough grip on that handle, just by contouring it enough, I might go 800 for everything. If I can't, if I feel like it's too slippery, I might just do 400. We'll see. But that looks super nice. Okay. Next up, I just have to glue the scales. All right, so kind of bad news. So one of the scales snapped, and right when I was gluing it, I had to do something on that moment. So I tried to hurry it up. I ended up mushrooming the copper pin, and then when I tried to pull it out, I snapped the scale. So I gotta find another material. I'll see what I have, and then I'll come up with something. All right, so here it is all epoxied, and I decided to go with G10 because that's the only thing I have. I don't like working with G10, but it turns out I have a lot of it. The red liners are just for the hell of it. Why not? And on an off note, I found a bag that epoxy doesn't stick to, so that's kind of nuts. I'm using this bag just to keep everything from keep the epoxy from dripping everywhere. So yeah. All right, so tomorrow I'm going to shape this, and I'll show you then the progress. All right, so here it is the next day. So now I just got to do first just the silhouette, and then I have to like contour the handle. Since I'm gonna do G10, I'm gonna have to contour it more than I thought, just because the shape of the knife is, and the shape of the knife, the shape of the handle is gonna have a lot more to do with grip than the material now, because G10 is relatively smooth. So, oh yeah, to show you, I took some pieces out, just because I find this interesting. Look at this. So there's some of the glue down here. See if I can get to it. Check it out while still showing you. Wait. Look at that. It comes off like nothing. I don't know why I find this so interesting. So yeah, I like this. I can put this this plastic like underneath too, and then it drips on it and it just comes off. So yeah, nice. Okay. All right, so I'll do that. I'll show you when it's just a silhouette, and we'll go from there. All right. All right, so here is the silhouette done, basically. Here's what I have to, my template, what I'm working with. So it's not gonna be exactly like that. This one is gonna be almost the same in the back. I wanna keep as much width as possible here in the back. I'm just gonna round this out, basically. I'm gonna round this in the front here too, but not as much as this guy. I don't think so. Here in the front, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just little slight indentions here and then here. I'll see where my hand goes. Just to keep the hand in place. This will be also, I mean, this indentation will also add to this. So this is going to be flared out just a bit here, just so it doesn't like, your hand doesn't slip up or just keeps your hand in place all the time. I don't wanna like make huge indentions so that your hand isn't like, so it isn't so you have to take that grip every single time. Just a little bit of indentation so that if you do take that grip, it's comfortable. So I'm gonna still try to keep the width here as much as possible, but just with indentions. I'm gonna keep this width completely almost the same. And so yeah. I just imagine the pressure being mostly on the back of the tang of the handle. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, so I'm gonna do some drawings. I'll show you, get a better idea, and then I'll start grinding. All right, so here's the marks. Can't really see that one that well. But, so basically, I put these at a slight angle just because I imagine the hand's gonna be at a slight angle, either way it's used. So just that or like this. The bottom here is more neutral, just straight, because your fingers don't curve that much. Well, these, I mean, might curve a little bit, but just more neutral down here, a little bit wider. I want to be able to keep this as wide as possible here too. So I'm still going to round all the edges, but I want here, so imagine here in the center, I want it to go like this, so like a rectangle rather than this. This will create a hot spot after a certain amount of time. Not like a hot spot where it like rubs your skin raw, but where it's gonna hurt your muscles underneath or your joints or whatever. So yeah, I'm going for a rectangle here as wide as I can while still doing a divot here. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, so next up, I'm just gonna start grinding it. All right, so here are basically the drawings. I had to go a little bit in on the corners. So next up is I have to round out everything. I don't know for sure how this is gonna feel, these little indentations, until everything is rounded. So I might go a little bit more deeper this way, but I don't know for sure yet. So I'm gonna round out all the corners, and then next time you'll see it, it'll be basically just close to just sanding. So it'll be the rough final form. So yeah, that's next. All right, so here's about the final form, basically. So now I'm just gotta sand it. And while I'm sanding, I'll do a little changes and stuff like that, but not big changes anymore. I just gotta like all the rough, just corners and little bumps and stuff like that. I get rid of those. So yeah, this feels fine. This feels good here like that. I ended up thinning this out a little bit back here more. Feels a little bit better. So yeah. And I might go a little bit deeper here still with the sandpaper, but not much though. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna sand it, and then you'll see after it's like sanded already. Okay, so here's a knife done. So I would have preferred Coco Bolo, but it is what it is. So this is G10 with red, maroon G10 spacers. You can barely see them, they're super thin. I wanted to have something, at least a little accent of some kind, instead of just straight up black. Yeah, so the original handle is just all blocky. And I decided to put these little divots in because either you hold it like this, like this, or like this. And either one, these little divots give you a little bit more purchase on the handle. G10 is slippery, but it's not crazy slippery. So, but this does help for sure. So yeah, decided to do that. Besides that, on the blade itself, it's not, I could have gone 0 ground all the way to the edge, which would have made it like crazy thin. But I decided just to do a secondary bevel, and the edge on this is comparable to this. So I decided just to leave it like that. If he wants it thinner, I can just make it thinner. But besides that, everything else came out fine, I guess. It's just weird making a knife for somebody else. It's an oddity. So it's odd in the sense that like I have to stop and think what does the other person want. Normally I just do whatever. And I mean, I do have like he wants me to do things my style. That's why I did this with the handle, because I do have that freedom, I suppose, to do that. But it's just still odd. So yeah, just to show you the sharpness. This sharp. It's basically done as is now. Yeah. It's hard to get the angle right, but yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know what to think of this thing. I mean, it's not something I would make, but it came out fine, I guess. Yeah. All right. So yeah, like always, any questions and suggestions, let me know. Oop. No, don't touch. There we go. All right, bye.